So in this case, okay, so let's go through all three cases with the A6 M5 Otsu's repair cost. My opinion is that it should be lower than it is. I don't think it justifies the 35,000 to 40,000 repair cost that it gets fully upgraded. I think if it needs to have such a high repair cost when fully upgraded, what we should do is we should create a better curve from a stock to a spaded sense when it comes to repair cost. Therefore, it would have a much lower repair cost when stock, and then at the spaded part, it would have about the same repair cost. So therefore, the curve or the line to increase the repair cost would be steeper. So as you unlock more modules, you would have to pay more per repair cost, but it would mean that that initial hit would be easier for an individual. The devil's advocate position against that is that would not be required. That the devil's advocate position against what the opinion I just said about how it should be lower is we have statistics which show that people are doing incredibly well from this, and the algorithms that we have set up have shown to us that therefore the repair costs are completely fine. Because if the repair costs were any different, then they wouldn't follow player data, right? Then why I think stuff happens, I think after looking at specific data, generally what happens when it comes to Gaijin is they will put up or down vehicles depending on the data and the algorithms that they've set up and the formulae that they've set up to change repair costs, and then afterwards they probably think, okay, well, let's round them off because it seems like a lot of them have zeros or fives on the end of them. And then on top of that as well, there will also be discussions about should the repair cost be this high? Instead, why don't we raise the BR? Why don't we do both? So on and so forth. There is going to be a multitude of factors when it comes to the Gaijin answer. When it comes to the devil's advocate and the opinion, it's going to be a much more direct answer. So yes, I think I may have an issue with putting across those points. I can definitely agree with that, and I hopefully will just get better at it over time. But to try and just boil it down to don't die, no, that's not the case. You can see here, for the Otsu, I still died a few times. But at the end of the day, if people are able to run the Otsu at a positive, silver line, as you can see here, after 12 games, positive 200,000 silver line, that should prove to you that it is possible. It should prove to you that it can be done. And that's all I was saying with this video, but people took it as a justification. That's not the case. My opinion is it should be lower. My opinion is we should find other ways of balancing these machines, such as reward, such as changing of BRs. It's as simple as that. I've said that many times, but people, I don't know, some people struggle to listen. Or maybe it's just down to the fact, once again, as I said before, people don't watch every video, and I don't expect them to. But I can't keep repeating the same things, which is why, as I said in this video, this will be the end of the topics, in my opinion. Then there was a straight lie from an individual. So remember when he admitted to getting a shit ton of GE on stream and getting any vehicles he asked? This I just never said. First of all, I don't really stream, so I have no idea where that's come from. And also, it is not the case that I've got a ton of GE since I've been part of the partnership program. It is also not true that I've got every vehicle that I've personally asked for either. I have actually been turned down for specific vehicles, but the majority of the time it's been an incredibly positive experience dealing with the partnership program, which I will get into. So there are two vehicles that I have requested for the channel. The BF109Z and the Black Prince. when it comes to premiums. Those are the two vehicles that I, as an individual, have got from Gaijin overall. That's it. In 2 and a bit years of being part of the program. On top of this, GE-wise, I have got around 25,000 GE. The majority has been spent on premium, and the rest I either still have, or I've used it to buy special vehicles, such as like the Yak 9T, which came around at that one weekend, or the KV-1E, which was available for a weekend. So that is what I have used that for. I've also used it to buy premium time when it has been 50% off at the periods of time where it is, so the November sale and the December sale. When it comes to test drives, I have asked for one test drive, and it was for the T54E1, because I wanted to test its turret, and I wanted to see how it would stand up. It turned out at the time of release, it didn't stand up too well. That's it. That's all I've ever asked for. That's all. Well, actually, no. I've asked for a few other things, but I was rejected. And therefore, those are the things that have been put onto my account through the partnership program. And I'm very thankful for Gaijin for doing it. And I'm also incredibly open about it. One thing as well is I've never used gold to research vehicles. Ever. I've never used gold to research standard tech tree vehicles. I've never used gold to gold modifications for vehicles. I make sure to play them from stock to spaded. And the reason for that is because I want the full experience of the vehicle from stock to spaded to see the difference between it and, make comparisons. The only vehicle that I've GE'd was the Firecrest. And the reason why I GE'd the Firecrest was because I was worried about the fact that it was going to disappear because I thought it was bugged. And I thought that it wasn't going to come back until later on. So I wanted to get ahead of the curve and make a video on it. So we have two vehicles that I've been given, the Black Prince and the BF109Z, about 25,000 GE, and one golded vehicle in the form of the Firecrest, which cost maybe 1,600 GE or 2,500, I can't remember exactly. And as I said, I use GE for premium time, and I use it to be able to get the special premiums that come around so I can make videos on them. That's where I stand with that. I would not class that as a shit ton. I would class that as quite minuscule compared to some of the others that I have seen when it comes to this. Other content creators and also other people who are parts of the partnership. I'm not going to go into specifics, but from a point of view of looking on the outside in and also talking to individuals, that is an incredibly small amount compared to a lot of others. The next point is, but Fly tells you this tank is shit and not worth the money. Canadian will tell you it is pretty awesome, lots of fun and definitely worth it, even though everybody knows it's exactly the opposite, just a slight difference. Once again, I don't think this is true. I think this is basically just slander. And I'll give you an example why. So the main thing that's been pushed here is the shill idea, right? If I get given something, I don't badmouth it, or I don't think it is, bad or anything like that. So let's talk about, also I made the ME264 deserving its repair cost, talking about how people fly it and why its repair cost is so high. I talked about the BF1Z a bit. So we did the dev blog on the BF1Z. And I did a lot of research before that dev blog. You can see I still had the beard then. I don't actually have my beard now. I had to trim it for work. But the dev blog for the BF109Z was unusual for me because the one that they're adding to the game never existed. It isn't even close to the one that did exist. So I did a follow-up video talking about why it exists in the game and also my opinion on it. Talked about the history of it, talked about the differences between the ones which were in, real life. There was one which was fully built, and there was one where we didn't really know what stage it got to, but none of the configurations were anything close to this villain that came to game. So I disagreed with it being added. I talked about why it exists and also my opinion, should it exist. My opinion was no. So this is going against what Gaijin wants to do since they added it. Then I did a video on it because I wanted to talk about it a little bit more, talk about its flight characteristics and what it felt like. And in this video, as usual, I go through the positives of it, I go through the negatives of it, and I also say I wouldn't buy it. So this is an aircraft that Gaijin has given me, right? They gave it to me through the partnership program. And I said to people in this video that if you don't have a specific playstyle, or if you don't, play a specific way, there are much better options out there than buying this. Right? You can go watch this video if you want. It's very easy to do. Just type in BF109Z and you'll find all these videos on my channel of where I go through it. I even get quite angry in this video here, because it was once again a step away from the realism aspect of War Thunder and into this mythical world, which we've already seen issues with when it comes to stuff like the R2Y2s. So for me, this was a big problem, and I wanted to make some videos on it. I wanted to go through my opinions, and I did. And after making these videos, I was never told by anyone at Gaijin that I shouldn't have done it. Nobody has ever even commented on these videos. No one has ever said, good job or bad job. That's not their place. Their place is to not tell you what to do or what to encourage you to do. They are there as a platform to help you to help them. That's the whole point of the partnership. So in this video, this completely contradicts the statement that is put here. It's just not true. I don't know how else to say it. So also, let's talk about the partnership program. There's a lot of stuff that flies about a lot about the partnership program, and I think a lot of people use it as a boogeyman to basically beat down on people, and I can understand why. It's because a lot of the time it's very easy to characterize it as a have and have not, and a lot of people will see it as, well, why can't I get this? And a lot of the reasons why is it isn't. A lot of the reasons why is, some people could say, well, they don't deserve it, or maybe they do deserve it. Why is this not person in, but that person is in? Why is this that? Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, everybody can apply. They have strict criteria of how to get in. You can have a look at the War Thunder website. It's all publicly available. All the information is there in the partnership program. All you need is 500 views per video or 10 viewers per stream on average during the last 30 days. So that's a month's work, and you can get into the program. It's not that hard. Like, I'm serious about this. Now, I actually had way above this before I got into the program, but that was just because I never really thought about it. I just wanted to make videos, but I was actually approached personally to join the program. So we'll get into that, but the first bit. So these are misunderstandings that I see a lot. Gaijin pay content creators. Now, obviously, I can only talk about my personal point of view because I am me. I am not another individual. I can't speak on their behalf. From my individual point, I have never been paid by Gaijin. I've never been paid a single cent when it comes to real world currency in order to promote anything, in order to work for them, nothing. The only interactions when it comes to what would be classed as monetary was GE when it comes to War Thunder Golden Eagles. Now, I don't see Golden Eagles as currency. I don't see them as dollars or sterling, or I don't see them as yen. They are made-up currency in a video game. which can change whenever it feels like. But if we're talking about cold hard cash, no, I have never been paid anything by Gaijin. And I will make sure, if it is the case that I'm offered anything, that it is made clear to the community that is around me and to the community that watches these videos what is going on. We just get free shit. Is another sentiment that was echoed many times. And as I said, I apologize for the profanity, but a lot of these are direct quotes from the Reddit thread, so I just, I thought why not try and keep them as direct as possible. We don't just get free stuff. You still have to do stuff. You still have to make videos. You still have to be able to, you have to be able to produce the number of views that they ask for when it comes to the actual criteria. And a lot of people who are in the partnership program, they don't, create a lot of stuff, and they don't get a lot of stuff. What you have to understand is it's not like on the first of every month we just get given a pot of gold along with, some select vehicles. Instead, what you get is you get an ask on service basis. So what this means is it all is through emails, or it all is through specific contacts. So I can only remember one thing or two things that were given to all content creators in the program, and one of them is a decoration which is on air that you can stick on your vehicles. It says on air in a triangle, and then the other was a title in game called Under the Wire, I believe. Now, when it comes to everything else, you have to do it on a one ask basis. You basically email or you talk to the manager and you say, hey, is there any chance I could get this? And that person says yes or no. Like that's it. So you can ask for as much stuff as you want, and they can just keep turning around and saying no. Now, I personally haven't asked for too much. I've never asked for any of the top tier premiums. I've never asked for, a ton of G or anything. If anything, a lot of the times, like with the BF109Z, I asked for a test drive for it, and they just gave me the vehicle. Which, is kind of them. It's very kind of them. But, I asked for a test drive. So even in that sense, I actually got a bit more than I asked for, which was very kind. But the thing is, I still had to ask. And that is how this whole system works. They don't just throw stuff at you and go, hey, go ahead, make content. Instead, you have to make the first move. And that is something which is very key with Gaijin and very key with a lot of companies. You have to be the person who makes the move to go forward, and they will follow you. They will build stuff beneath you. What you'll see a lot of the time is if you have an idea, they'll be like, okay, well, let's see how well it goes. And after the first part of the idea, they go, oh, you're actually doing it pretty well. Okay, now we'll stack behind you. That's pretty much what this partnership program is. That's what the whole thing is about when it comes to it. It's about, supporting people who have shown a penchant or an interest in the game who have also access to an audience. But everything is from the point of the individual content creator has to build it for themselves. The next one is we cover for Gaijin, e.g. shill. This has been something that has been leveled at me a lot. Let's talk about the things that I've disagreed with Gaijin. I've disagreed with a lot. I've made my points very clear. Here's one of them that we talked about earlier, the BF109Z. This was another one that I need to talk about. And so we have the BF109Z. I completely disagree with the idea of 8.7 premiums and the way that they're set up in the game. I disagree with the addition of the Tunguska by itself without any other tech tree equivalents. I disagreed with the addition of the T2 with, once again, no more tech tree equivalents. I disagreed when they I disagreed with the modification prices of a lot of the vehicles. I disagreed with the fact that BRs are the same no matter what state the vehicle is in. So if the vehicle is stock compared to spaded, it's the same BR. I disagree with that idea. I also disagree with the fact that some of their repair costs, as we talked about before with the Otsu, there has to be at some point where somebody steps in and goes, okay, maybe the algorithms are screwing up here. We need to step in and, try and think of another way of dealing with it. I disagreed with the addition of the B29 when that was added because I knew it would break the game. Guess what? It broke the game. The TU4 being added, which was basically added to deal with the B29. Well, guess what? It's a lot better than the B29. There's a bunch of other things that I've disagreed with. The fact that Aerialistic doesn't have a lot more mechanics to it. There's no paratroopers, there's no enduring confrontation style airfields, there's no objectives which change or move. There's not a lot of AI in the game. I've made tons of videos either agreeing or disagreeing with things that Gaijin have done. Probably the most famous one was the modifications one. Now let's see if I can actually find this one. Because this one was a while ago, so it might be a little bit hard to find. But this was... So, right. Let's see. This one, right? So, vehicle modification upgrades. 6.3k views from a year ago, June 5th. If I was an individual who was a shill for Gaijin, I wouldn't have made a 40-minute video going through how this is a horrific idea. I would have tried to look at the positives and try and work from the positives. That was not the case in this video, and that is not the case with anything else I've just laid out. All of those things I just said are my opinions. The things that I disagree fundamentally with some of the approaches of stuff that Gaijin does. So don't tell me that I just, lay cover for them. Or don't tell me that I just cover stuff for them. I have never been told to produce a video. So here's the next point, which ties into the other one. So we're told what to produce. I have never been told to make a video. I've never even been suggested a video. There have been 3 times, sorry. There have been 3 times where a Gaijin employee has reached out to me about a video that I've already made. The first one was to talk about the Gaijin store and how it doesn't actually show Canadian prices, it only shows US prices. So I only have to go from a US price point of view. The second one was to clarify how the new assist system works and how the Q&A section of that article was different to the bits above it, right? And how they intertwined in an odd way, and so it was confusing to people, therefore they wanted to clarify the confusion and make sure people understood. I covered that part in the next video because it was something I said I would reach out and ask them about. The last bit was scouting and how it worked when it initially came out. Those are the 3 things, and those happened post creating the video. Meaning that I could update them, or meaning that I could clarify them from Gaijin's point of view. I have never been told to produce anything. That's just not how any of this works. Because the moment that happens, the moment that Gaijin says, you make this, you know what happens? There are 10 other videos which say they are forcing us to do this. I can't believe they're doing this, and you have a crazy community outcry on top of it. So all of those points, which are brought up a lot, there is the problem with these. There is always a kernel of truth, depending on how you look at it. So Gaijin pay content creators, depending on how you see pay. I mean, I'm an adult. I can't pay rent or a mortgage with GE. So I don't see GE as money, but some people will, so they could say that. The free stuff, I mean, that's all about subjectivity. Do you believe that another individual is entitled to something, or do you think they shouldn't be entitled to it? So I can see where that comes from. The gaijin thing, where there have been times where people have accused me of covering issues which they believe I have taken Gaijin's side on, instead of me just explaining why something happens. The last one is being told what to produce. I mean, if you don't know the ins and outs of it, I suppose you could think that. But all four of these are just not true. That's the only way of putting it. Also, another thing, another point, which was earlier this year, was Battlefield Engineer. An event which I liked the initial premise of, really enjoyed the initial premise of, but was annihilated by the use of the market. Right? It was just completely annihilated by it, and you could see here, I critiqued it. I said that the whole number that they'd created was wrong. Simple as that. Like, I don't know what else I can say. These are not the actions of a shill. Anyway, moving on. So defending the repair costs of Allied bombers, saying pre-war planes and tanks shouldn't fight stuff 5 years newer, but saying the B-17 fighting jets is fine because it's realistic, and the US and UK bombers only needing to be lowered by 0.3 to 0.7 BR, while the German ones need only 0.3 raises in BR, despite being better in literally every way, including bomb load. He seriously is out of touch with reality. Is any of this true? Maybe the first bit. So, defending the repair costs of Allied bombers. If I lay out why something is happening, that doesn't mean I'm defending it. That's just showing you why it exists. Once again, just because I talk about a topic does not mean I support it. I know this is a foreign concept to people because a lot of people don't like talking about stuff that they disagree with, especially don't like talking about it in a positive light. For me, I think it's essential to understand every issue. You need to look at both sides. Do I think the B-29's repair cost is absurd? Yes. But is there a reason why it is absurd? Oh, also yes. Because there are a lot of people out there who aren't dying in them because they're just side climbing, staying really high, bombing the bases and bombing the airfield, and waiting for the ticket counter to bleed. There is a lot of people who do that, and it's incredibly hard to deal with them. The 177s do the same thing, so do the 288s. So I can understand why the repair costs are so high. That doesn't mean I agree with it. I think we should explore other options, whether it's to do with reward changing or whether it's to do with changing in BRs. The next part. So saying pre-war planes and tanks shouldn't fight stuff 5 years newer, but saying the B-17 fighting jets is fine because it's realistic. I've never said this. I don't know where this idea comes from that I believe in historical matchmaking. I don't think I have done for 5 years. I don't even think there was a time when I was playing War Thunder where I thought, oh, historical matchmaking would be good. I thought in events and stuff, and stuff like World War Mode, but the other one, World War II Chronicles, it was nice that we had an event per year which was focused on that idea, right? That was cool. I like that. But the same thing is, that doesn't mean I want random PvP to be that. I want the game to be balanced. I want the flight models and the damage models and the tank models and the way that stuff reacts with each other. I want that to be historical. But when it comes to what fights what, I would rather it be balanced. You see how those two ideas, they intertwine. It isn't just one or the other. Historical matchmaking would be really bad for the game. It would be incredibly bad. Because as we know, people just want to play the stuff that wins. Right? Like that is a basic fact. The other basic fact is, yes, they will have a naturalization to their own nation. Like US players will generally play America, German players will normally play Germany, so on and so forth. But there is a lot of crossover there. But the main thing is, historical matchmaking would be horrific because none of history is balanced in that way. So I definitely believe we shouldn't do that. I want to make that completely clear. I've never believed that I can never remember a point where in random battles, the main game modes of War Thunder, where I've advocated for historical matchmaking. I think it's a terrible idea. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Martinez, Moxie, Alobralo, Super Cacti, Grisvolk, E-Love Goats, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.